Hello Walls, Isos here. Today I'm bringing you the Ironside suit guide, so we'll mostly be going over the Biolinks for the Ironside suit. It's specialized in ranged combat, so these Biolinks only affect ranged weapons, so if you're not using a ranged weapon you're obviously not going to use any of these. But for Too Long Didn't Watch, Magnetic Link is very good. It's very nice to be able to pick up the bolt from further away. The other two are both situationally useful, and I think it kind of depends on which of the ranged weapons you are using for which ones you will prioritize. But we'll get into that in a minute. For overview, as always, we're going to be looking at the last levels here because these are just strict upgrades, and these levels are just the same. Except this one allows you to swap it off on other suits, or be swapped off on this one. So let's start with Magnetic Link. This increases the range of the ammo pickup by 50%. By default, ammo pickup is about 4 meters or 1 block, meaning you just barely can't reach the other side of the block. With Magnetic Link, it goes up to 6 meters, allowing you to reach the other side of the block so you can pick up through walls. Importantly, it's probably one of the biggest things this does, but it also means that you can pick up bolts and canisters that have fallen to the bottom of a corrosion cube without actually taking a dip in the acid. Both uses very useful. Also, things like not having to turn corners. You might not have to turn a corner to pick something up. There's a lot of situations where Magnetic Link can be helpful. Next up, we have Shot Tracker. This allows you to see your ammo through objects. So, generally speaking, bolts and canisters always have this flash, blue for yours, green for your teammates, and you can see that from quite far away, probably further than the 40 meters from this, honestly. But the problem is the moment they go behind something, or if they're round a corner or anything like that, you will immediately lose track of them. Well, you won't be able to see the flashing. Whereas with this, you'll be able to see them through the wall, makes them much more obvious, and 40 meters is quite a long way. That's 10 blocks. So you can really spot your ammo with this, which can be really helpful if you're trying to pick up things through walls, but also just really helpful for keeping track of them, particularly if you're using, say, the demo cannon, where the canisters are harder to track. And the last biolink here is rapid fire. This increases the fire rate of ranged weapons by 20%. So basically, they have all ranged weapons have a reload delay, which is the time that you can't fire it again. And this reduces that by 20%. It can be helpful. I honestly think it's only really helpful in the Volt Lancer at the moment, but we'll go into that when we're talking about using them anyway. So, for choosing your biolinks, obviously if you are running dual gun, you'll want to choose all three of these. None of these have a negative impact, so there's no need to not use them, and there's no biolinks currently that don't require a particular weapon. So if you've got two ranged weapons, all three of these, perfect. No notes, easy choice. If you go down to two, I always go to one first. Let's go to one. So with one, Magnetic Link is often the best choice because the ability to pick up through walls from a further distance, without having to dip into acid, around corners, without putting yourself into danger. All of these things are great. I don't think it doesn't matter which of the free range weapons that we currently have that you are using. You can always make use of it. It's obviously a little bit less useful on the plasma bow because the plasma bow doesn't really need to pick up its own. It doesn't really need to pick up its ammo because it has 15 shots and there's only 20 guards. Doesn't really need it a lot of the time. Shot tracker. The ammo is highlighted and can be seen from 40 meters away. I think this I would take as a single biolink if I was using the plasma bow and none of the other ranged weapons, because it allows you to use the bolts to mark things, so you can spot them when you're actually inside the level. So you can mark things on the outside, and then you can more easily spot them. Like even if you can see the actual structure from the outside, you can actually mark where to go, which is interesting. I don't think I would ever take rapid fire as a single biolink, because the main downside of ranged weapons is ammo loss, and magnetic link prevents that a little bit, whereas rapid fire kind of encourages that. I still think it's a very good biolink. It's just the magnetic link one is probably slightly better by itself. Now, if we're going on to two, if you've got a space for two biolinks, magnetic link and rapid fire are amazing for the Volt Lancer. The Volt Lancer is really easy to track where your shots go because they're pretty much always in your line of sight, because they'd only shoot straight and doesn't bounce or anything. And because it gets stuck into like any surface, you don't really need to be able to track them. Most of the time, you can just see the blue flashing from where you were. You don't, provided you keep a little bit of a mind of it, you should be fine. And so I think for the Volt Lancer, Rapid Fire and Magnetic Link, 100% would be the way to go with two Biolinks. If you were to swap to the demo cannon, I would actually swap that to Magnetic Link and Shot Tracker. The reason for this is the main thing that makes rapid fire good is that it allows you to deal with situations that you wouldn't have been able to deal with without rapid fire. So, for instance, if you step into a spot where you are being killed by, say, an impaler, which has a 1 second activation time, and you've just shot something else, but you need to stay where you are. You've just shot something else. The Volt Lancer at level 3 would have a 1 second recharge time. That would not give you enough time to actually shoot the impaler. But if you put reload rapid fire on there, that becomes 0.8. So you now have enough time. You can now have enough time for it to fully recover and then shoot, and then the bolt will be flying and it will destroy the impaler before it kills you. And that is a situation that you can't deal with without rapid fire. You wouldn't be. It's obviously it's hard to get stuck in a situation where you have to stand on an impaler, but ignoring that, there there were the point is there are situations where rapid fire would save you, where not having rapid fire would have you die, and when you swap to demo cannon, those become very few and far between, because while its reload delay goes from 1.5 to 1.2, which is quite a big increase. Like it's obviously a bigger increase than the Volt Lancer's getting. It's only getting 0.2 seconds, whereas you're getting 0.3 seconds here. Because of the delay on the explosion after firing the canister, you've got a 0.75 second delay. You can only really deal with traps that take 2.05 seconds or longer to activate, and most traps activate at about 1.25 seconds. Sometimes there's projectile travel speed, so about the only thing you really gaining is if you're at like max range on an incinerator and you plan on standing in the max range thing after firing your canister instead of backing up. And that's like a that's probably the only edge that's like the only edge case I can really think of that you gain, and it's such a weirdly specific one that you probably aren't going to want this. You're probably better off just waiting the extra 0.3 seconds. Whereas because the canisters roll all over the place, and because it's often a good idea to shoot them out corners, blind, etc., it's really easy to lose your canisters. So the combination of these two is really good for the demo cannon. And I don't think for Plasma Bow, I honestly wouldn't suggest taking two if you're only using Plasma Bow. I would suggest focusing on your other thing, because Shot Tracker is the only thing that really has a huge impact. Like you could go Shot Tracker and Magnetic Link, but once again, you don't really need 15 ammo. Like, anything above about 10 is insane. So you can kind of just lose bolts and it's not going to matter most of the time with the plasma bow, which is part of its design. So I just wouldn't recommend two Biolinks in that case. Would either go, I would just go, say, shot tracker and grab two for your other weapon, which, once again, if it's a ranged weapon, you're just going to pick up all three of these. But anyway, that's it for the Ironside Suits guide. I shall see you next week for the potentially next week for the Fury's Edge guide. I may delay it a week if there is significant changes to the Fury's Edge in the mid-season update that comes out on the 15th. But we shall see on that front. Anyway, I shall see you next time.